singers have a monitor that has the lyrics. I'm like, basically karaoke lyrics. I'm like, that's what I want.
They're up in Hancock's now, right?
Millions of dollars. It's unbelievable.
I don't know. I mean, that's impressive.
It's crazy. They have a Louisa campus, and now they're getting ready to open a Waynesboro campus. That's what they call it.
Good morning to Unity of Charlottesville. Good to see you today. Hi, PMH. My name's Rhonda Cooley, and I am the celebration assistant today, along with our senior minister, Don Lansky, and our guest singers today, Doug and Greg. We are very fortunate to have them here today. Blair is on a much-needed vacation, and she's out, I think, in Colorado visiting her son, and we wish her well. And so thanks again for coming, all of you out there on Zoom, and let's sing. Doug is going to start us off.
You all know it. It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart open above your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing how. It's in every one of us here and now. It's in every one of us. I just remembered, it's like I've been sleeping for years. I'm not awake as I can be, but my seeing's better. I can see through the tears. I've been realizing that I bought this ticket and I'm watching only half of the show. Well, there is scenery and lights and a cast of thousands who all know what I know. And it's good that it's so. Everyone, it's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart open above your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing how. It's in every one of us here and now. It's in every one of us here and now.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Unity of Charlottesville, and welcome to everybody who's watching online and maybe even on Zoom. We're trying out Zoom this morning again as well. Unity of Charlottesville welcomes people of all faith, all religion, all spiritual traditions, all culture, all gender identity, all sexual orientation. Everybody's welcome here, and we're glad you're here this morning. And we hope that you'll find something that's spiritually nourishing to you. And that comes in so many different ways, either through song, through message, through meeting someone you've never met before, maybe meeting an old friend. So we're just glad you're here, so thank you. And it's our tradition to begin with prayer, so let us do that. Let's just take a moment and close our eyes. Take a deep breath. Very folly this morning. So we recognize the times of changing, the seasons changing. We recognize that in our own spiritual journey that there is so much fluidity, that we're always being bended and stretched and pulled and pushed to become higher, to become more of who we are in our heart of hearts. We give thanks for this process. We give thanks for this healing journey. And we send forth love this morning to so many places around the world that are in need of love and support right now. Libya, Morocco, Maui, the Sudan, Yemen, so many different places. We pray for strength and comfort and peace in our world. Peace in the Ukraine, peace wherever there is oppression and hatred. And I invite you just for a moment to look at any challenges that you're facing in your life right now, any situations that need some light, some love. Sometimes we move around and get so busy that we don't have time for even ourselves. So just take a moment right now, something that you're needing an answer to or guidance for. And in this collective consciousness of this space right now, shed some light on that. Just know that there is an answer, that there is a divine plan, there is divine guidance that is within you. We give thanks in the name and after the nature of the indwelling Spirit of God, which we sometimes call in here the Christ within. Amen.
And let us conclude our opening prayer with our statement of faith together. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life. God the good, omnipotent. So we love music here. Let's sing again. Stand up and we'll sing our welcome song. Get an opportunity to say hi, like, hi, Kate.
I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. In the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here.
And as always, our wonderful youth director, Mark Boston, is in the back, waiting for the kids for Kids Church today.
And he's waiting, and he's waiting.
Any kids?
And he's waiting.
I'm a kid at heart, but, you know.
I'll go.
Okay. All right, we will continue to hold the vision that this place is full of lively young folks, right? Okay. So we do have a bunch of opportunities for transformation. Hi, Kate. Nice to see you. So the Eye of the Storm class, this is the Reverend Catherine Klein will be doing this. One of the most powerful classes that we do in Unity. what if what is going on around you and what is perceived and who are perceived to be your enemies, what if it's not about you? Right? That's what this class looks at. What if nothing and no one is against you? So this is an eight-week class. 4 weeks will be in person in the Peace House up there, beginning Tuesday, September 26th, and then 4 weeks will be online, and that's with Reverend Catherine. If you want to learn more about it, go to our website, unitycharlottesville.org, and look at events on the top of the page there, and you'll read a lot more about it. But it's a great class. I hope you'll sign up.
And our next community hug meeting is today after church. That's downstairs along with, is there fellowship?
Yeah, there
well?
is.
Fellowship and the hug meeting, which means help unity grow. So it gives us an opportunity to share ideas and thoughts that may help us grow and bring more good to our community.
And we proudly support, Unity of Charlottesville proudly supports the Pride Fest. So that is happening today. And if you want to run over there after church, you can do that. We have a shared booth this year. The faith communities have a shared booth. So we will be, Amy and Maria Stein will be monitoring that booth from 3:45 to 5:15. And that's at the X Park. Whoops. Bob, do you want to say a word about the men's group or no?
Why not?
Why not?
Good morning, everybody. So we're going to have our first meeting October 2nd of this year. I think that's a Monday night. So I'm kind of looking at an offer.
No, just point right
Oh,
there.
okay.
There.
Sorry. I'm not used to having mics in my hands, you know. Usually if I get a mic in my hand, they tell me to leave after a couple of minutes. So I'll try to avoid that today because this is supposed to be a spiritual environment, right? So, okay, what I'm looking for is on the first meeting, that we'll get together, find out who's really interested, get a name of people, and then work out to see if we can figure out what we want to do and how we want to go forward as a group of men in fellowship. For me, I get the idea of everything that's going on in the world now, all this change and all that stuff, for us to maintain our masculinity and our spirituality. As a group, we can help do that together. So please come, okay? Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. And Ann Hills will be coming. She's a really well-known folk artist in folk communities. You can listen to her music on our website, but she's doing a concert here September 30th, and you can buy your tickets online if you like.
And Blair will be there too.
Yes, that's right. Blair's playing too.
And when you go downstairs for fellowship and the hug meeting today, you might notice that there's some artwork up on the walls. Each month we're doing an art exhibit. And during this month, it's our own Patsy Assumption right there. So check her artwork out downstairs. And there's a community engagement project to help support unserved families through the Blue Ridge Area Food Bank with personal grooming and household items. So bring those items to Unity and place them in the lobby in the bin. And I hear we're doing a great job on that. Correct?
And every week we have a midweek prayer service, Wednesday nights at 6:30 to 7. It's always on time, so it's really kind of a really compact little half hour of prayer. So if you have any prayer requests or things that are weighing heavy on you, or if you just want to give thanks, you can just join us on Zoom. And we have a weekly e-newsletter that goes out. If you're not on that, getting the newsletter, you can sign up for that out in the lobby there. But join us on Wednesday night, 6:30.
So, of course, let's affirm together our mission statement. Together, Unity of Charlottesville empowers everyone to express their unique divinity, making a positive difference in the world.
It is such a great joy to welcome Doug Schneider and Greg Harris.
Thank you, Don. It's always a pleasure. Child, I know you're weary and your eyes want to close. The days are getting longer We're not getting any stronger, trust me, I know. But lie in my arms while you're sleeping and think of the rivers you've crossed. I'll tell you the dreams I've been keeping for moments like this when your hope is lost. Hear my song, it'll help you believe in tomorrow. Hear my song, it'll show you the way you can shine. Hear my song, it was made for the times when you don't know where to go. Listen to the song that I sing, you'll be fine. Child, I know you're frightened and your throat's parched and dry, but just trust in what I'm singing and the gift tomorrow's bringing. Trust it, don't ask why. Just lie in my arms and I'll tell you the things that you know but forget. The lies no one ever could sell you. I know that it's hard, but don't give up yet. Hear my song, it'll help you believe in tomorrow. Hear my song, it'll show you the way we can shine. Hear my song, it was made for the times when you don't know where to go. Listen to the song that I sing, we'll be fine. 'Cause I'll be singing, hold on, hold tight. I know it's dark right now, but just believe somehow, and soon there will be light. Hold on, hold fast. That's not enough for some, but trust the light will come and we'll get past. You and me safe at last. Hear my song, it'll help us get through till tomorrow. Hear my song, it'll show us the way to survive all the pain. Hear my song, it's the one thing I have that has never let me down. Listen to the song that I sing, listen to the words in my heart, listen to the hope they can bring, and we'll start to grow and shine. Listen to the song that I sing, and trust me, we'll be fine. Thank you. Thanks.
Wow, never better, man. Good job. And Jim and Blue, thank you. Greg, thank you. Can you all hear me in the back? Yes? Can we turn it up just a little bit? So, a man was driving down the road in his van when he saw a truck pulled over by the side and its hood was up and it was loaded with penguins. He had a whole full load of penguins. And being a kindly and good Samaritan kind of guy, he pulled over and asked the truck driver if he needed any help. And the truck driver said, well, I don't know how long this is going to take to fix, so if it would be great if you could just take these penguins to the zoo for me. In fact, I'll give you $50 if you do it. So the good Samaritan agreed. He loaded all of these penguins in his van and he headed off towards the zoo. And about 3 hours later, the trucker saw the Good Samaritan's van coming towards him slowly, and he noticed that all of the penguins were still in the van, and that the van didn't seem to be slowing down. So he stepped into the road and he flagged the van down. He said, what's going on? I paid you $50 to take these penguins to the zoo. And the Good Samaritan said, well, I did take them to the zoo. We had a great time, and I got $10 left, so we're going to Dairy Queen. All right. So do you know that there are actually laws called Good Samaritan laws? Do you know that? You may remember that in the very last episode of Seinfeld, it was the violation of the Good Samaritan law that landed Seinfeld and his company in jail, right? Because they were watching this guy being robbed and bullied, and they were laughing and joking about it, and they didn't do anything to stop it. And so they were arrested and thrown in jail, taken to trial. In the U.S., the Good Samaritan laws are designed to protect from blame those who choose to help others who are injured or ill, and to reduce a bystander's hesitation to help out. And in other countries like Canada and some European countries, Good Samaritan laws are legal requirement for citizens to assist people in distress unless others doing it would otherwise harm themselves, right? So we all know, and we have grown up with this idea of the Good Samaritan being someone who goes above and beyond to help people without any demands for reward or attention. My Jewish grandmother called this being a mensch, right? A mensch is someone who you can count on always, someone who always does good stuff for you, does good deeds. And we can trace this expression of the Good Samaritan back to the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, verse 25 through 37. And that's what we're going to be exploring today. And actually, this is the beginning of a 5-week series on the parables of Jesus, because next week, and for 4 consecutive weeks after that, Reverend Catherine Klein is going to be doing a very deep dive into the parable of the prodigal son. And each week, she's going to be taking a different perspective on that story, one from the father, one from the son, and other things. I'm not even sure exactly what she's doing yet. But I guarantee you that you will be learning and experiencing the prodigal son in a way that you've never experienced it before. Catherine, who's a classmate of mine from the class of 2000 seminary, will be covering for me while I'm on a brief sabbatical. The board has given me a month to go to, which is kind of a do-over from last year, because last year one of our congregants died, and then I got sick, and then I got COVID. So this is a do-over. Patricia and I are going to be going to Scotland on Thursday. So I hope you'll join Reverend Catherine and just to really experience this story of the prodigal son and support unity and just be here while I'm away. So getting back to today's parable on the Good Samaritan. The first thing that we need to remember is that the parables of Jesus were meant to bend people's minds. So here's a good definition of a parable. This is from C.H. Dodd. He's a British Bible scholar, New Testament scholar. He says that a parable is a metaphor or simile drawn from nature or common life, arresting the hearer by its vividness or strangeness, and leaving the mind in sufficient doubt about its precise application to tease it into active thought. Right? So the parables of Jesus were meant to have hidden meanings, to make people think, to tease their minds into active thought, and to blow their minds. And one of the most important questions that we have to ask ourselves about the parables as we encounter them is, what was Jesus intending his audience to hear and to learn? That's the first question. The second is, what did they actually hear? How did they hear it, and how did they respond to what the parable was saying? And the third is, what relevance does the parable have for us right here, right now, today? Because it is the assumption in unity and from a metaphysical standpoint that all of these parables are universal truths that have direct application to our lives today. So let's take a look at the parable of the gospel, or of the what am I doing? The parable in the Gospel of Luke, right? This starts with a preface, okay? And the preface is that just then a lawyer stood up to test Jesus. "Teacher," he said, "what must I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus said to him, "What is written in the law? What do you read there?" The lawyer answered, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself." And Jesus said to him, "You have given the right answer. Do this, and you will live." But wanting to justify himself, the lawyer asked Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" So usually when we think about the Good Samaritan story, we think about the second question, the focus of the second question, who is my neighbor? But there are actually two questions here. The first question is, what must I do to have eternal life? And the second question is, who is my neighbor? So Jesus acknowledges the importance of the two commandments, to love God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. And then he responds to both questions with this parable. He says, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell into the hands of robbers who stripped him, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead." Now, to give you some perspective here, Jerusalem is about 17 or 18 miles from Jericho. And at that time, the roads were wild and desolate. You'd have to walk through these areas, and it was well known to have all of these highway robbers. So that's exactly what happened to the man. He wasn't identified. We assume that he's an Israelite or a Jew. Might not have been that bright since he's walking by himself on this road, on this perilous road. But the man is stripped, which means that he's lost his identity. We don't know who he is, don't know his name, don't know what village he's from, don't know what his social class is. And so now by chance, a priest was going down the road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. And so likewise a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by him on the other side. So this part of the story is where Jesus' audience may have become a little bit shocked and befuddled, right? Because the priest is supposed to be a holy man. And the priest not only passes him by, but he walks to the other side of the road to avoid him. What kind of holy man does that, right? And the Levites were the same. The Levites does the same thing. So the priests were the ones who performed the holiest of the holy rituals in the temple. The Levites were sort of the assistant ministers. They did a lot of the other religious tasks. And they were supposed to be the good guys, right? These are supposed to be the good guys. Now, in those days, Jerusalem was a center of worship, but Jericho was the place that many of the priests and Levites actually lived, as King Herod also did. He had a summer palace in Jericho. The historian Josephus described Jericho as the city of 1,000 palms, sort of the Beverly Hills 90210 of the day, you know. And that's where they lived. So it's possible that the priest and the Levite were going home. Maybe they were finished with their priestly duties, and then they were just going back home to Jericho. But we wonder, as Jesus' audience might have wondered, why did they go out of their way not to help this man? Why did they do that? Why did they pass it by? So maybe they were afraid that the robbers were still in the area and they would get hurt or injured or killed. Maybe they were just hard and callous, you know, they didn't want to get involved. You've heard that before. I don't want to get involved. Maybe they thought the man was dead. And it's against Jewish law for a priest or a Levite to touch a corpse. So maybe they were just doing what they thought was right and following their religious law. But now, here comes the real mind bender. But a Samaritan, while traveling near him, and when he saw him, he was moved with pity. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, having poured oil and wine on them. Then he put him on his own animal, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii, gave them to the innkeeper, and said, "Take care of him, and when I come back, I'll repay you whatever more you spend." So you can just imagine Jesus' listeners beginning to bristle and cringe. How can this possibly be? This distorts the very nature of reality itself. A good Samaritan, that's an oxymoron. Because the only good Samaritan is a dead one, right? And to say that there was bad blood between the Samaritans and the Jews is an understatement. In fact, in that time, if a Jew killed a Samaritan, it was not considered to be murder. So why the bad blood? So this was a centuries-old feud going back to the conquest of the northern kingdom of Israel in 722 BCE. And many of the Jewish leaders were deported, and the Assyrians began to populate the northern kingdom and intermarry with Jews. And over time, they developed their own ideas about what it meant to be Jewish. Mainly, they studied the Torah and the 5 books of Moses, but they didn't study the writings and the prophets. These were 2 very important texts to the Jewish people. Samaritans believed that the true location of the temple, as designated by God, was not Jerusalem, but Gerizim in Samaria. And when Syria conquered Assyria, and Jews were allowed to return home from exile, they refused to allow the Samaritans to participate in worship in Jerusalem. They didn't consider them to be Jewish. And so the Samaritans and the Jews shunned each other, living in separation. Occasionally there were bloody attacks, the worst one being when the Samaritan temple was destroyed at Gerizim by the Jews in about 100 BCE. And who, are you with me so far? Okay, so who is the hero of the story? Who's the hero of the story? The Samaritan, right? The Samaritan is the hero of the story. He didn't just stop for the man by the side of the road. He bound his wounds with wine and oil. He put him on his own animal so that he had to walk. He took him to an inn. He gave the innkeeper 2 denarii, which is the equivalent of 2 days' wages, and he told the innkeeper to take care of him. Now, at this point in the story, Jesus' listeners might have been waiting for the other shoe to fall, for the Samaritan maybe to kill the Jew, right? Maybe the listeners thought that take care of him meant get rid of him, like Don Corleone. Take care of him. We don't know. But to their shock and their amazement, the Samaritan was an incredibly nice guy. He was just being a nice guy. He was a real mensch. So, what is Jesus doing here? Just what a parable is meant to do. Shake things up. Shake people up, right? Make his listeners question what's right and what's wrong. What's good and what's bad. When all the known hierarchies, all the known customs of the day are subverted, what's left but to make up your own mind, to come to your own truth about the situation, and to come by that for yourself. And so Jesus finishes the parable with a question back to the lawyer. He says, "Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of the robbers?" The lawyer said, "The one who showed him mercy." Jesus said to him, "Go and do likewise." Now, there are so many layers and meanings to this story, and I'm not going to give you a definitive answer to that, because the purpose of a parable is for each one of us to discover the meaning for ourselves. That's the whole point. Many of us have grown up with the idea that the Good Samaritan is a story about what it means to be a good neighbor, what it means to be a good person, what it means to do the right thing. And just imagine for a second, if all the people in the world and all the nations in the world did that, we'd have a different kind of world, wouldn't we? Origen of Alexandria had a different idea. He lived in 185 to 253. He said that man represents Adam leaving paradise and going into the world where he meets hostile powers, the robbers. The law and the prophets, represented by the priests and the Levites, are no help to him. But he is saved by the Samaritan, representing Jesus Christ. And the inn and the innkeeper accept him, symbolic of the church, representing the church. And the fact that the Samaritan will return again is symbolic of the second coming of Jesus. That's what Origen said. Charles Fillmore, Unity's co-founder, had quite a different idea. He said that metaphysically, Jerusalem represents spiritual life and Jericho represents intellectual life. And often we start from Jerusalem with high spiritual resolve, but are robbed by outlaw thoughts along the way. Right? And by outlaw thoughts, he means negative thoughts, thoughts that dwell on the material or sense consciousness rather than spiritual thoughts, thoughts that are loving and positive and constructing. The priest and the Levite represent religious tendencies that are not necessarily spiritual, meaning the letter of the law and not the spirit of the law. And the Samaritan represents mixed thoughts, partly spiritual, partly worldly. But in this case, the Samaritan's leading characteristics are kind-heartedness, helpfulness, and generosity. So Fillmore says that the Samaritan typifies the traits that make religion a living, spiritual, uplifting power. And these are the forces that throw wide open the doors to the inner kingdom so that human consciousness can be lifted up and merged with God consciousness, which is eternal life. So Fillmore's answering both questions here. And if we take the main message of the parable to be to love God and to love our neighbor as ourselves, Fillmore says that metaphysically, a person's neighbor is his or her most intimate embodied thought. And that our embodied thoughts are literally embodied in our bodies, right? What you think, you become. So the man being beaten and stripped of his clothes is half dead because the robbers, which represent our lawless thoughts, rob us of energy and substance until the Samaritan, the Christ within us, ministers to us with the awareness of merciful, healing love. So that was Fillmore's interpretation of it all, right? But there's another possibility. Like the man in the parable, we're walking around half unconscious all the time, right? If the people that we perceive our worst enemies, what if they were really our greatest teachers? Even our healers, even our saviors. That's what another possibility. And so the parable, as you can see, completely breaks down the accepted social and religious and cultural norms of the day. And when we look at the deeper meanings of the parable, from whatever perspective you want to look at it, Jesus is doing the thing that he does best. He's calling us up higher. He's calling us up to be the light of the world, to share our light with the world and shine our light. And he says, look at the Samaritan and how he embodies and exemplifies the message of love and compassion. And go and do that. Right? Go and be like that. But how do we do that in a world that is so full of suffering on so many different levels? You know, I heard an interview on NPR this week. It was an interview with the director of the UN's World Food Program. She was saying that right now there are 345 million people, mostly women and children, who are hungry or starving. 345 million. That for every 1% of the World Food Program's budget that's cut, 400,000 people go hungry. And this week, of course, as you all know, 11,000 people died, 10,000 still missing in the floods in Libya caused by the breaking of dams due to this heavy rainfall, and 3,000 dead in Morocco. And how do we wrap our heads and our hearts around this immense suffering that seems to have no end, with climate change and with human greed and with all the hateful politics in our country and around the world. I remember a time, probably the first time, that I really helped a stranger in need. I was hitchhiking around Europe when I was in college, and I was in Athens. And one day I was walking along the street, and this man collapsed right next to me. And so he didn't speak any English, I didn't speak any Greek, so I went and got some policemen to come over. And they thought that for some reason I might have caused this man's collapse, right? And probably because of my appearance, I had very long hair and a beard and all that stuff. And they thought that I might have committed this crime. So it took hours to clear it all up. And at that time, the very real possibility that I might land up in a Greek jail, right? Just for trying to do a good deed. So the rigor and the demands of Jesus' teachings can be daunting. Do you agree? They can be really, really daunting for us, especially if we have big hearts, open hearts like we do as spiritual people. It can be daunting. There was a famous experiment done at the Princeton Theological Seminary in the early 1970s, and where subjects who were seminary students were told that they had to do a talk on the Good Samaritan, but they were late, and they had to rush to another building to deliver this talk. And part of the experiment was that on the way to this building, they had to pass a man who was sitting slumped over in a doorway, in a hallway, and who, as they passed by, would be moaning and coughing. And this man was being played by an actor in the experiment. And the researchers found that the amount of hurriedness induced in the subject had a major effect on their helping behavior. So overall, of the seminary students, only 40% offered help to the victim. And of that, in a low hurry situation, 63% helped. In a medium hurry situation, 45% helped. And in a high hurry situation, only 10% stopped to help. Seminary students who are becoming priests and ministers, right? The researchers concluded that a person in a hurry is less likely to help people. In fact, some of the students literally stepped over the victim on their way to the next building to do a talk about the Good Samaritan. That's an amazing study. And it's kind of bad news, really, in a way, too, because most of us are pretty busy and most of us are in a hurry all the time as well. So, what are we to do? What are we to do? Mother Teresa said, "I never look at the masses as my responsibility. I look at the individual. I can only love one person at a time. I can only feed one person at a time. Just one. One. So you begin, I begin." And this is Paul Hawken. This is I think some of the good news, or at least some of the hopeful news. Paul Hawken is an environmentalist and social justice advocate. He wrote a book called Blessed Unrest, and then his new book in 2021, Regeneration, Ending the Climate Crisis in One Generation. And he estimates from his research that there are over 2 million different and independent organizations, nonprofit and local organizations around the world that are working for ecological sustainability and social justice. And this number doesn't include the number of individuals within each of those organizations that are doing this work. Hawkins says that inspiration is not garnered from litanies of what is flawed. It resides in humanity's willingness to restore, redress, reform, recover, reimagine, and reconsider. He says, healing the wounds of the earth and its people does not require saintliness or a political party. It is not a liberal or conservative activity. It is a sacred act. So we may just need to slow down a bit to really appreciate this sacred act. We may need to slow down a little bit and to actually put into practice loving God, loving our neighbor as ourselves. I want to show you Paul Hawkins' dream. If we could have the stage lights.
To me, the environmental and
Turn the sound
sustainable
up, please.
movement is about a conversation that is an attempt to enlarge our vocabulary, to create a vastly expanded sense of what is possible on Earth for humankind. It is a language of relationship, it's a language of kinship, it's a language of inclusion, it is the language of generosity. I was recently told by a journalist from a magazine, "Aren't you just dreaming?" I said, absolutely, I'm dreaming. And it is our right to dream. It is something that we owe our children's children. A dream is a gift to the future, and the future is begging. I dream of a U.S. that actually has an energy plan and a climate plan, a 100-year plan, not a midterm election plan, a water plan to get rid of all the corporate pollutants in our riparian corridors and in our streams, a biodiversity plan, a plan to eliminate poverty, literacy, a plan that ensures no child here or anywhere goes to bed hungry. I dream of another UN team shutting down the 10,000 chemical plants in this country, which are essentially biological weapons waiting to happen. I dream of getting my government back, a country of, by, and for the people. And I dream of a country that can say that it's wrong, that it's sorry. It can apologize and say it's sorry for the suffering it caused First Peoples, for African Americans, for Hispanic Americans, and for Asian Americans, and all people in all lands that we have tortured, that we have harmed, that we have killed. A country big and generous enough to pay reparations and build new schools in inner cities and act with decency. Eduardo Galeano talks about a time, a dream time, when historians will stop believing the countries enjoy being invaded, when the world will no longer be at war against the poor, but against poverty, where the weapons industry will have no choice but to declare bankruptcy, when nobody will die of hunger because nobody will have indigestion. And the street children will not be treated as if they were trash, because there will be no street children, because a black woman will become president of Brazil, and another black woman president of the United States, and an Indian woman president of Guatemala. These dreams are pipe dreams unless we act politically. I dreamed that we would become a political movement, not simply one called by the name of a color, but by the name of an ideal. What should we call it? Freedom. That's what sustainability is about. Freedom from tyranny, freedom from empire, freedom from corporate rule, free to honor life, to create, in Janine Benyu's memorable phrase, a world that is conducive to life. Thank you very, very much.
So I want to conclude with a Native American Ojibwe prayer. Grandfather, look at our brokenness. We know that in all creation, only the human family has strayed from the sacred way. We know that we are the ones who are divided, and we are the ones that must come back together to walk in the sacred way. Grandfather, Sacred One, teach us love, compassion, and honor, that we may heal the earth and heal each other. Let's prepare for meditation.
everything I've ever done, everything I've ever seen, everything I've lost or won, everything I've ever dreamed has brought me here to this present moment here, to a new beginning here, and I'm seeing life so clearly now. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. 'Cause here I go, deeper, deeper, deeper than I've ever been before. Here I go, closer, closer, closer to my sacred source. Here I go, deeper, deeper, deeper than I've ever been before. Here I go, closer, closer, closer to my sacred source. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. Get ready, my soul.
So as we continue in this time of meditation, I invite you just to...
All that I receive.
And can I just say, welcome back, Don. Don's come through a health challenge. We've been praying with him, and here he is. So good to have you back.
This song came into my life 31 years ago, and I've been singing it here on and off for about 25. So. They say there's a universal plan for every woman, for every man. I do believe there's a higher power, but in our darkest hour, it's hard to understand. So we start to question, start to doubt. We lose faith in what life's all about. Why did the right road take a wrong turn? Why did our heart break? Why did we get burned? Just like the seasons, there are reasons for the path we take. There are no mistakes, just lessons to be learned. Don't give up, keep on looking deep inside, and let your heartbeat be your guide. There's a gift for those who keep believing. You'll find what you've been needing is right before your eyes. You will hold the answer in your hand. Then you'll know, you finally understand. Why did that right road take that wrong turn? Why did our heart break? Why'd we get burned? Just like the seasons, there are reasons for the path we take. There are no mistakes, just lessons to be learned. No matter how many times you stumble or fall, the greatest lesson is loving yourself through it all. Why did that right road take a wrong turn? Why did our heart break? Why'd we get burned? Just like the seasons, there are reasons for the path we take. There are no mistakes, just lessons to be learned. All those lessons to be learned.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, man. Yes, wow. That was so beautiful. Oh, man. So let's bless our offerings. Just know that they bless the giver. The giver is blessed. And we see the circulation moving, flowing, in, out, back, forth, over and above, blessing each individual. We say thank you, God. Amen. Do we have children? Yeah, come on up, guys. Yeah. Thank you.
I don't know if that mic will be on.
Oh, you want to give this?
Happy Sunday, everyone. My name is Reverend Mark. I'm your youth director here at Unity of Charlottesville. And I guess we must have worn out the other kids last week. They were wonderful last week, weren't they?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, they did a fantastic job. So today it was me and my pal, Kia, and we had a very adult-like conversation about surrounding, well, many topics, but specifically I think we touched on authenticity the most. Kia, is there anything you want to say about our conversation?
Yeah, we talked about how if you're authentic, it's like if everybody's the same, it's not really like interesting. And we kind of made a saying bring your own sauce to the table. I learned that in school, actually. I had a teacher that said, be authentic, bring your own sauce. So we talked about that and how it relates in life to, being you. So, yeah.
Well said. Beautiful. Yeah, I love that. Bring your own sauce. Bring your own ingredients to the gumbo. I love that. If any of you would love to participate in the spiritual development and growth of a young person, we are looking for teachers and presenters. And if you have any skills or talents that you'd like to share with the youth, come on down. We welcome you. Let's bless these young people and the young folks that we trust are having a great time wherever they are. Children,
Uniteens, YOUers, teachers, and parents. You are loved, special, and important.
And we just want to remind everyone that we do have a pastoral care team that is always available for prayer and any kind of assistance you need, like hospital visitations, food. Just let the officer, Reverend Don, know.
And next week, the beginning of the prodigal son, and Reverend Catherine will be looking at this from the perspective, each week, different perspectives. So one from the father, one from the wayward son, one from the elder brother. It'll be really, really interesting. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. I want to thank everybody, especially my good friends Doug Schneider and Greg Harris. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Ricky, for me. Yeah. Our unsung heroes back here, Jim Paulson and Blue, and Kevin, Rhonda, and up in the sound booth we have Boyan and Amy, and Bob is over here as well, and we have and Don Chudd and Vicki Chudd for the blessing team. Thank you. Our healing helpers are back here, and bookstore is open. Thank you. And we do have fellowship right after through these doors here, and then a little bit after the fellowship, we will have our hug meeting where you'll get to meet with the Board of Trustees and with me if you have any things that are going on, any ideas. We'll be happy to share them with you and you with us. So let's...
Safe travels to Reverend Don and Reverend
Yeah, thanks.
We see you having a wonderful time.
Yeah.
We'll miss you.
If I come back in a skirt, you'll know it went well. All right. So... our prayer for protection. Together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. And wherever God is, all is well. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Have a great day.